Hi everyone, welcome to another comics loving edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. I am delighted on this episode to be talking with someone who's currently sandwiched in between it looks like a classic Universal monster as well as an exorcist or exorcised person. That sounds very fit. And that is Guy Dorian Sr. Guy, thank you for jumping in and joining me.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And I love every chance I get to talk about comics and the world that I work in and creators and products and all types of things that I'm involved in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate the time and I appreciate the work that you've done. I'll shout out a couple of titles here. We've already been talking a little bit about the work that you've done, but I go back with your work all the way back to New Warriors, Night Thrasher, kind of some of the first steps in comics, and then you've also created in the world of ROM and the Dire Wraiths, which, as I was telling you, a friend of mine, Adam, introduced me to not too long back, actually. And I will also mention you've created in the world of John Carpenter's universe, very unique space. And you've not just worked in comics, you've worked in film, creating some classic images, especially with X-Men Apocalypse. And then I'm also an action figure fan. And so I know that I believe I had some of your designs of Youngblood in plastic form and other figures like that. So you've done quite an extensive amount of creating.
Yes, I am uh, attention deficit hyperactive guy. I can't think of one thing at one time, even as we speak. It might seem like I'm focused, but I'm not. There's monsters going on, stories, images. It just doesn't stop. So I need a creative outlet is great for that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
uh, so I never work on one project. I'm always like, why am I pigeonholed to just Illustrator or this or that? I've been an editor for years, comic illustrator, inker, designer, you name it. My artwork has been on everything: books,
Hmm.
hats, cups, mugs, shirts, uh, um, posters, wallpaper, like real wallpaper. Uh, um, it's in Disney World on the walls. It's been on uh, banners. It's been all across the world. It's been on uh, what do you call those things on the highway? Billboards.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
it's been everywhere, and I've drawn just about everything. So why not?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Now you might have hat tipped some of your creator origin there because I was going to ask what connected you to visual storytelling, but it sounds like the creative space was just kind of a natural fit.
Well, I could answer that, and there's so I grew up really poor, like
Hmm.
really, really poor, like not even a bed, uh, you know. So we laid on a mattress, old mattress on the floor, until I was, I think, 13, 12, 13. Um, but comic books,
Hmm.
animation, toys, wow, those things took me out of where I was.
Hmm.
And they were visual storytelling mediums and even toys in many ways. Like, I got He-Man when I was a kid, and he came with comic books.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, and then you would see the animations on TV that were Captain America, but they were comics by
Hmm.
Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and Marie Severin and all these creators and John Buscema. And it was a mixture. And then they had these power records. So you listen to the record but you look at the comic. And I always wanted to do film and television.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, you know, and then I discovered Jack Kirby. And you're once you discover Jack Kirby, for no matter what you think of his drawing when you first see it, you can't not like it. You can't not find your place with Jack Kirby at some point if you understand comics, if you understand storytelling.
Hmm.
And I was big into film. I used to watch as much TV as I could and absorb it because I felt that was also an escape.
Hmm. Hmm.
I grew up in a really rough neighborhood too. It wasn't just being poor, it was a very rough neighborhood. So, instead of, you see gangs outside, you see drug dealers outside, you see people with knives, this, that. But the bright side of the world was when my aunt would pick us up, she would take us out to go buy comic books or toys.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
oh my gosh, Saturday morning cartoons, it was like, didn't have to worry about anything. So
Yeah.
that drew me in, you know, that 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 escapism drew me in. I was always a storyteller. I was always about wanting to know more about characters,
Hmm.
about adventures. I was always drawn to that. And I would see people on TV and they would say something and I would say the same thing. And then they would say it again and I would act it out. And then I would be like, hey, that's like another world and you're living this world.
Hmm.
It's not real, but I can escape to that. So, and then I would watch these things and then I would watch superheroes.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I, oh my gosh, now we're going somewhere else because I always wanted books when I was a kid and I could barely ever buy them because I didn't have any money. And we would go to the book fairs at school. They used to have these book fairs. I don't know if they do them now, but
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
get this paper and you could order these books and you go to the book fair. And sometimes I could buy a book, but for the most part, I couldn't unless my aunt would give me the money or my mom would scrape coins out of the bottom of her 70,000 pound purse
Hmm.
and I would get whatever book I could, you know.
Yeah.
So those things always made me feel so good. So I continue to escape to that. You have this sort of PTSD where you need to envelop that stuff, and then sometimes you grow out of it because you don't need it anymore. But
Hmm.
sometimes it sticks with you and you need that. But then when it becomes part of you, it's a totally different thing. You don't want to let it go because if you're an artist or you have any artistic talent or if you're a writer or a creator, you can now give that back, the stuff that you got. So for me, I always loved Jack, and I'll just tell this quick part. I saw the Alien adaptation by Walter
Hmm.
Archie. Weezy colored it. I saw the character and Giger blew my mind.
Yeah.
I just blew my mind. And, you know, I was about comics, but I was mostly about drawing and story and characters, but I was enveloped in the artistry of it, in
Yeah.
the craftsmanship of creating stories that you can't get that anywhere because people look like people all the time. But when you look at a comic book, people look like an interpretation by that creator
Hmm.
and that artist. So they have their styles and you get to know them.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and um Neil said that, those are artists making mistakes, but I see it more as artists artists letting themselves out in that.
Hmm.
So if somebody draws larger hands, just that to them, that's the focus, and or certain looks on faces or certain construction forms because they're drawn to those geometrics. And it's more about expressing oneself. And I think that's more of an expressionism than a misunderstanding of anatomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I saw Walter's adaptation. I couldn't buy it. I
Right.
couldn't get it. Oh my gosh, did it make an impression? It was the reason why I went from one, like thinking someday I might want to do comics to I'm gonna do comics.
Hmm. Hmm.
That was the change right there. Boom. Once I saw it, couldn't take it with me, but that was the change. That and wanting to always do film, television, theater, and create those things. But that was why I was drawn and am still drawn to visual storytelling mediums.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's it like to work across media that way for you, from toys to comics to film and uh,
Um,
back and forth?
it's all the same. It's just a different way of expression.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, I when when I watch a film, I don't watch things that are interacting. I don't watch someone else's story.
Hmm.
I feel the character's emotion, which is something all visual and all storytellers want the audience to do. I don't do it because they want me to do it. I do it because it was in my nature.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when I watch a scene, I'm not visually taking in the blocking of a scene or the occurrence that's happening. I watch it with the emotion of that character.
Hmm.
And it makes every film and everything so, I don't know if it's different for other people, but I know for me, visual storytelling in all mediums is the same if you look at it through the lens of the the uh, of the mediums you're using to create that story. There's a
Hmm.
way to do comic book storyboarding versus a way to storyboard a film versus a way to storyboard an animation the way it is, the way to storyboard a commercial. There's certain points on the screen you're starting your next shot with from the last shot, specifically for moving the eye around the box for a commercial.
Hmm.
But for a film, it may be different. There's zooms and this and that. There's certain a height you want to keep characters on and in the main images and animation where it would be different in comics because people flow through a page rather than one box in
Hmm.
one scene. It doesn't always pop in the same spot.
Yeah.
So now you have to create a flow. So now you have to learn about spotting of blacks and what types of shots to use, when to grab a shot. Once you show the shot, it's apples and oranges.
Hmm.
Man leaping off a building. Well, there's many different ways I can show that man leaping off a building. But with a page that has 4 panels to a page that has 7 panels, with a larger panel versus a smaller panel, with will that angle work for the next shot and the shot before it?
Hmm.
Does it flow smoothly? Does it leave room for words? I don't have to worry about leaving room for words in cinema. When I do toys and create stories for that, many people don't ever see the actual concepts.
Hmm.
They see the final thing. But there's a story behind each one of those characters. There's a reason why the character is designed that way. So there's storytelling going on amongst the team,
Hmm. Hmm.
but unless that's an animation or a comic book, you don't see it unless you visually use it as people playing with those toys in a commercial.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
But my world is still storytelling. No matter what, it never stops. And you must, some guys can sit there, women, men, whatever. Some storytellers can sit there and just draw anything.
Hmm.
Just boom, it comes out. Just I don't know how. Some guys do have to do so much research. By the time they get to the board, they've enveloped so much stuff just to get to do that. I keep myself in a safe space where I use certain amount, I create a certain amount myself if I don't know it, but I try to just get it done and just follow my instincts as an artist to follow through on that and give everyone something that's consumable.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
not to get off subject, but I try to draw things that are, well, I've been told I have this style that works. You can't always, all illustrators aren't right for every job.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have this knack for whatever it is that I'm drawing. Usually I can draw something in the horror genre, superhero genre, sci-fi, Western, cartoon, anime, so that leaves me personally, some guys are just incredible illustrators, but they would only do horror.
Hmm.
Some guys are incredible illustrators, but you don't want them to draw cartoons, but they're incredible at comic books, fine, real illustrator guys in comics with 1,000, lines of tone and value and blah, blah, blah. Um, I sit in a space that I know who I am. I sit in a space where I do everything the same.
Hmm.
I could sculpt, I could draw, but it'll all be consumable stuff. And
Hmm.
I like that place because I like to be able to give the same thing I got when I was a kid. I got that Mego. I got that Hasbro figure. I got that comic. I watched that cartoon and it was all ingestible.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's a powerful escape.
Yeah, it's really powerful sharing it
Hmm.
because you, I don't want to get emotional here, but you can literally change someone's bad day.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it gets me emotional because I've met people at conventions. I did an appearance at New York Comic Con in 2016 or something. And I was like, will anybody show up? I had people from so many different countries, not only just America, different countries who came up to me and had my work and things like that. What is going on? And I had a Desert Storm vet who was injured come up to me and want to purchase things from me. And he started talking to me, and I was thinking to myself, he's like, "Yeah, I really liked your stuff. I had one of your comics with me while I was in Desert Storm." And I'm
Wow.
and I'm like, it's not like I drew a million comics because I went over to toys very quickly, but he had them.
Hmm.
And uh, I found out only recently that, you know, my work inspired an entire Bendham's line with the major Bendy's figures with the Matt Cardona and such. I hadn't realized that anyone even cared or knew about the WWF wrestlers, WWE wrestling stuff I did. And then I found out there's an entire vast community because one day I was on Instagram and I was like, somebody posted one of them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I had fun designing that. They're like, what? Oh my gosh, what? You designed this? And I was like, you're Guy, the one who did the cards on the back. I'm like, yeah, I designed all of it. I was the one who did all the major main designs that they used for 8 or 9, 10, 11, whatever runs they had of it in different waves. And it actually even kept the company going. And then I found out that there was huge collectors of it, and I was just blown away. I had no idea. It's like I didn't know my work was in Chasing Amy until years later. And somebody said, "Hey, man, is this your artwork on the wall in the scene? The Nubian scene where he's talking about the Nubian goddesses and everything. The first scene is as a panel in the movie, and then I
Hmm.
saw that they spotlighted some of my work at the very first scene. So you're a tracer, right? So that's it. You trace. Uh, and and I was like, holy moly, I had totally forgotten because when I was young, I was just trying to help feed my family. So,
Mm,
and I just wanted to get involved. So it's amazing to see how impactful some of those things are, even if it's impactful to one person that much that it changes their thought process, helps them out, helps them go and do the same thing in the future, and helps, that is super powerful.
yeah. Yeah.
But it's a result of everyone who came before me who inspired me.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about directors, I'm talking about actors, I'm talking about movies, television, I'm talking about animation, I'm talking about toys, I'm talking about comic books, and that's why I'm involved in all of it.
Love it. Love it. So I'm curious what has your creative attention at the moment. And that could be a lot of things. That could be things that you're currently working on. Some folks talk about like convention appearances and things like that. Um,
Well,
anything that's currently circling.
okay. So I can't talk about the film stuff and television stuff
Hmm. Hmm.
because that's super high, you know, non-disclosure stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
but you're out there and you're doing it.
I am involved in uh, as a creator of characters, story, and series, television, and films.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm involved in several television series and films at the moment that are in pre-production and all that jazz.
Very
And
cool.
and uh, there were a few burps because there was a 2 year stint with that COVID thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then there was writer strike and actor strike and all this stuff, and they have to sort everything out. And it's like, oh my gosh. But you know what? Slow and steady has always won the race for me. So I'm cool with that. You know,
Yeah.
I do drawings. My company, Good Alien, just did a mini comic adaptation for an Australian fantasy horror trilogy film called Ariad, which will be being promoted soon through that company is called Ciron. They're out in Australia, and um, it's a cool story.
Hmm.
Um, my son, who is a writer now for about 10, 11 years, he co-wrote a book with J.B. Manis and Larry Hama, and he was one of the writers on that, and some other works. And he just did that adaptation, the first adaptation for it. And he also wrote a story for the toy company I have with my partner Thomas Chillemi, who was a comic book lover. He has a chain of comic book stores, but he's also been an independent comic book creator for years and put out some stuff. And he and I met per chance because I was friends with Herb Trimpe.
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
really good friends with Herb, and we used to sit at cons together all the time. And I had been working with Sal Buscema, and so he was going to go see Sal in Virginia, and then Herb was like, "Why don't you come to Virginia with us since you work with Herb, you work with Sal and me." I worked on Herb's last works. I was his inker on
Oh
his last
wow.
works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, you know, so I said, yeah. There's even a video out there of Herb and me talking about going to see Sal in Virginia. Well, it turns out that my partner Thomas was the one who owned the store in Virginia that we were going to go to.
Nice. Nice.
So Sal and I fulfilled that later on, and we brought it since Herb was gone. We brought along my buddy Chris Ryall, who is a phenomenal creator in comics and did a lot of work with IDW. Huge ROM fan, great writer. He just wrote a story for Bamco Toys.
Hmm.
Uh, Again, Thomas and I are co-owners of Bamco Toys, and we're going to be putting out action figures. I don't know. Can you see these
Yes.
here?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
This is Lost Landers over here. Here's
Very
a
cool.
here's a character. Arthur Adams took a look at this and loved it.
Nice.
Here's a villain character. Uh, and see, it's Lost Landers is the name of the new intellectual property
Very cool.
that we own. And so that's some stuff here. Let me grab this Lost Landers poster. This was inked by Scott Hanna,
Oh,
who
nice, nice.
I work with a lot. He works with John Romita Jr. a lot.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and this is the cast of characters. And you could see all this creation, all this new stuff that people will be able to ingest and be involved in. But we're making this so that we are very aware of kidulting. Do you know what kidulting is?
So I'm going to guess that it has something to do with both kids and adults enjoying the same form.
Collectors.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
enjoying the
nice.
same things. Now, Disney has figured that out for a long time. And there was never a name for it. But when we're watching films that we all love, our kids and us, that come from Pixar, and we're like, at the
Hmm.
same time, that's kidulting. We're being
Nice,
invested in that. And it's
nice.
okay for collectors today. It's okay to be an older collector of, so, oh, I don't collect toys, but you have a whole set of, Disney films in your collection, don't you?
Hmm.
Yes, you do. But anyway, so this is specifically made to touch that audience. Again, my artwork usually is ingestible by everyone, but
Hmm.
the idea is to have 10-year-old kids, 8-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids who would have watched Saturday morning cartoons back when I was growing up. They can ingest this safely and enjoy it and love it, but so can people who love the Avengers or love anything else that's out there, or Green Lantern, or any other type, or He-Man, or any type of story like that, or characters like that. And they can ingest this and just enjoy it. Uh,
Nice, nice. Yeah.
had my Turbo Man back there. So here, I might as well show you. I have them here. So here, these are, nobody has really seen them all, but these are our proof of concept figures of
Wow.
some of the characters. And this is Ominous Sir, and he is an amalgam of four deities.
Wow.
And I won't tell the whole story, but he is a very, very cool character. We've gotten a really incredible response to this, and Walter loved it, and everyone else loved it. And we have some other characters. So, like, here is my first maquette to say, hey, does this idea have merit? You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
I had just seen something recently by another creator. I can't remember who it was, that came out a few years ago that had a character with three heads. And there was another character with Marvel with three heads. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, well, I guess, you go back to the Greeks and Romans, and you go back to all this other stuff, you'll find it too. But
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
really, it really was inspired by totem poles and such, and African art.
Oh,
And
nice, nice.
what would Kirby do? Kirby had done uh, um, in the Eternals, he had done some art, and he had characters, back to back to back to back.
Hmm.
And I was like, hey, and it was like taken from Aztec art and Mayans and such. And I was like, hey, that works for me, because I always wanted to do something with multiple characters being amalgamated together.
Nice,
And so here's a few characters. I'll just show you some of the characters he's on base. This is our adventurer character, Colton.
nice.
Sort of loosely, some of him is based on me, because I'm not an adventurer. I don't ski, I don't mountain climb or anything like that. But he's a martial arts expert and boxing expert, and I studied martial arts since I was 7.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, yeah, I've been all over the world. I'm part of the Global World Wing Chun Kung Fu Association, where my grandmaster is Grandmaster Chung, and he brought Bruce Lee to learn Kung Fu from Ip Man.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and he is a incredible martial artist of his own right. And Robert Downey Jr. is part of the same school, has the same grandmaster, and his master is Sifu Eric Oram, who trained under my grandmaster for many years and is one of the prize students, and is a fight choreographer for Hollywood films and Avengers, Iron Man, and many other things, as well as if you ever saw Sherlock Holmes and
Hmm.
the amazing fight scenes, that Sifu Eric.
Nice.
He is Robert's main Sifu. And so all those, I'm connected with those guys, and a couple of guys from Hollywood are the same master and such like that. And I got to have my name on a monument in China, at the Shaolin
Awesome.
Temple.
Very
So
cool. Wow.
here we go. I'll show you just one more of these. And here's our Neanderthal minion.
Mammoth character.
Yeah, yeah. He's cool. We have a bunch of other characters being made. Here's a bust that we actually started selling because people saw it and were like very, very, oh my gosh, what is that? Oh my gosh. And they came
Hmm.
to the table and he's a cool character. I
Yeah.
like I like Ominous Sir. He's cool. So here you can go to the store, and my brother and I worked on with Marvel Entertainment on Avengers Assemble products, and we
Hmm.
did artwork that was to be used on all types of materials. They are still using it today. We did it about 7 or 8, 9 years ago
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
Avengers Assemble, and that was for the Avengers first Avengers film and all that. And you can find our work together on products like this.
Love it. Love it.
Right at
Very
Five
cool.
Below, right now at the store currently. Come with trading cards in it, and you can go and find coloring books and shirts with Loki on it like this. That's me and my brother. You can find that anything with the Chitauri. And I don't know if you could see it back there. There's a
Hmm.
That poster is sold at home. It's a canvas poster. It's sold all over the country. It's sold on puzzles and shirts and posters, you name it. Well, I didn't realize that our work was on there too, because we did the Chitari, because that's an amalgam of a bunch of artists. And my buddy Paul Galassi, a real good friend of mine, used to famous for lots of things, but mostly famous for most known for Master of Kung Fu and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but he drew the bullseye that's over there in the corner, which you can't see from this camera. And then my brother and I did the Chitauri from the Avengers film that's on that. And I was like, oh, is that the star? I was like, oh, there it is, you know?
Nice.
So
Nice.
you can find that. I'm also working on with Larry Hama right now. Um, we're putting together our first Kickstarter. Never did one before. Um,
Cool. Cool.
and this is a bust I did of a werewolf. One day I was like, I need a proof of concept. I don't know if this is clearing up on screen or not.
Hmm.
Uh, but this is a bust that will be a special tier or stretch goal. I don't know the difference because somebody else will be running it all. But this for a thing called Mounties versus Werewolves. And it seems sort of generic, but it's not because do you know why? Because Larry Hama is writing it. So
This is true.
Larry, yeah, it's like saying, hey, we could take, superhero tissue paper and make a comic and it comes out great because we've been in the industry for a long time. Larry's been in the industry for like 20 years more than me. He's also 20 years older, but he has been at the top of the industry forever.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
is an incredible writer. And I'm just lucky enough that he and I are working together and we're pals. I've had a great career being able to work with a lot of people over the last 11 years, especially with Sal Buscema as my inker. I've worked with Neil Adams and had Michael Golden do covers, and Howard Chaykin did a cover for my book, and Kelly Jones did a cover for mine and Wheezy's book. Walter Simonson. Now Walter's writing a story. The
Mm.
ominous stir character, the writer of that story, is Walter Simonson.
That's pretty awesome for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I have to draw. So Walter's done a cover for things that I've done before, but Wheezy is Louise Simonson, his wife,
Hmm.
famous, incredible writer, my favorite writer of all time. And I'm lucky enough to be pals with her and work with her.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to have Walter, one of my idols, but a good pal of mine at the same time. We're just pals, but I once stood on a line to, to get him to sign something. He's like, "What are you doing?" But the reason why the reason why I stood on that line is I never got to stand on a line for Walter Simonson as a fan.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I wanted to experience that and not and I also felt like when they took my brother and I to go meet Salvius, when they took my brother and I to go meet Stan Lee, I had already met him at the Marvel party in 96 or whatever it was, 94, 5, 6, I don't remember what it was. But they took my brother and I, hey, you come get a picture with Stan.
Hmm. Hmm.
They brought us in front of like 450, 500 people, and I felt hard. I didn't know they were going to do that,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
brought us there. But because we had our booths that they had us there at the show, they didn't want us waiting on a line. They wanted us at our table. So they put us in front of everyone. Still, I felt awkward. So I wanted to just stand on a line like everybody else.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm no better than them. I want them, but they say, but now I go to the line and they're like, no, 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 guy, come, just okay. The fans do it. I don't do it. And I usually say, no, no, they're like, no, no, just go do your business there, pal, because I work with them.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but I have those things coming out, and there's going to be a Kickstarter. I had started promoting it a little while ago, but there were things I wanted to do, and my company, Good Alien, is a company that will have major creators working with. We did our debut convention in recently for the Super Jersey Comic Expo. Um, and we had a 40-foot space. It was me, Larry Hama, Scott Hanna, and Louise and Walter were supposed to go, but they had COVID.
Ah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so the COVID got them. So, but it was a great showing. I'll send you a picture of me, Scott, and Larry pointing at the
Please
good.
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but we're Good Alien is working with all different people. If anyone has a product they want to come out and they have money and they go, "Hey, I'd like this to be like the best people in the industry," will just contact me,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
will get my people from Good Alien to talk with you and help you out and get you started because the people involved are people like Louise Simonson, Sal Buscema, Larry Hama, Bill Sienkiewicz,
Hmm. Hmm.
Walter's doing some things. Who else? Um, Scott Hanna. Um, oh gosh, I know I'm missing some people because there's so many people involved. You wouldn't expect that many people, but there are well, you would expect it. I've been in the industry a while. What am I talking about? And I work with these people all the time. So, but we're bringing that value to every product that we work on, whether it be television, film, comics, toys, animation. We're going to do it all. Chris Ryall, my buddy, my good buddy Chris, is one of the head guys. My son, who is he's really a screenwriter who's doing comic books
Oh,
by my
nice.
request. And then, I have an author by the name of Jerry B. Manis. Check out some of his stuff. He's phenomenal. Um, and I know there's a few people. Joe Staten just came
Oh,
aboard,
yeah,
and
nice.
uh, Mark Spears is a guy that I started interacting with a little while ago, like 2 years ago, on Instagram, and he last year he sent me. I sent him a thing. I said, "Hey, dude, I saw an interview by you. It popped up as a suggestion on YouTube, so I watched it. Great stuff." And he's doing work with Todd McFarlane.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
he's doing all covers, and he does work with lots of other people, but just did covers with Todd McFarlane. And Todd interviewed him as a new creator for the company and all that stuff. And so then a little bit goes by, and he goes, "Hey man," he sends me a message. "I was on YouTube, and I got a suggestion to watch the interview with Guy Dorian Sr." And I was like, "Oh man, how funny is that?" So we started talking, and we're really like-minded guys who understand the journey, understand products, understand art, and we work at a high level, in the industry, and so he joined the board, and he's going to be at the Big Lit Comic Nova in Roanoke, Virginia, with me and Joe Staten, Mark Spears, and me, Joe Staten, Mark Spears. Oh, and Chris Ryall, and um, Howard Chaykin is not part of Good Alien, but he will be there with us, so go see him. He will be there next to us, so go see him. I just want to plug him because he's an awesome
Yeah,
guy.
for
I like,
sure.
yeah, I love Howard. And the next con we're going to do with Roanoke. By the way, the people who run the Big Lick cons, in both Dulles and Roanoke, J.D. Sutphin,
Hmm.
and his brother Adam. The best people, the best people. They are absolutely fantastic, along with Paul from Super Jersey Comic Expo. They're going to have another con soon, but we'll also be at the one in April. I just want to plug that because there's going to be some major creators coming with me and Good Alien. Uh,
Nice, nice.
yeah, and really major creators as well. I believe we're making an appearance. I was asked to do Hershey, Pennsylvania Con,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
which I hear is very good. So we'll have a nice presence there and a few other places throughout the year. So you're going to want to look for that. So I'm currently working with Larry, getting the Kickstarter just about ready
Hmm.
for Brownies vs. Werewolves. You're going to want to look at that. You're going to want to promote it. It's going to be Larry. Usually the way we work is I usually say, hey, Larry, just do what you're going to do. And he has two ways of writing. He either writes or he does thumbnails
Hmm.
of the
Hmm.
story because Larry is actually a very good illustrator. And there's nobody who tells a story better than him. So I mean, it saves us a lot of time. And Larry doesn't even have to write anything. Instead of write, so you can either do the plot method, the Marvel method, where you write a plot, you send it to me, like Walter and I writing in plot method. Other writers like Chris write me a full script and they
Hmm.
send it, or sort of a full script, and some people write full script. Larry doodles. He does his
Nice.
nails. So he sends them to me, and I work very well off of Larry. Um, um, Larry has good construction and blocking. So I don't have to think about, sometimes people have sent me that stuff and I changed the entire thing. I'm
Hmm.
like, this needs to be changed. Larry, never a problem. I might change things aesthetically because I want some of me in there and my ways, but I've sort of earned that over the 35 years in the industry.
Hmm.
But Larry, nobody tells a story better than Larry Hammond. It won't be better. It'll just be a little different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Larry sends me thumbnails. So with this, most likely Larry will be sending me thumbnails. And then I do all the finished art from that. And I believe Sal Buscema will be the main inker on that.
Nice,
And
nice.
I have a few other people who will be involved that I will be promoting them specifically as for who they are, and talking about them in a broader sense, myself. But so it's that, it's Bamco Toys. You go to
Hmm.
bamcotoys.com. We just started putting some things up. And you can see some of the characters from Lost Landers. We're starting to slowly there's a presence on Instagram that's starting. There's a presence for Mounties vs. Werewolves that's starting. And what else am I doing? Oh my gosh. Well, the TV and movie, I can't tell you what it is, but
Hmm.
it's horror. A lot of it is horror based or martial arts based.
Nice,
Kung fu
nice.
stories, martial arts films. Um, and that's with major Hollywood producers. All producers are valuable.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether it was a small producer or a large producer, as we're seeing now, and much more now. You don't have to be a giant production house. You don't have to be a giant studio. You don't have to be a giant producer or director or even writer, to be able to put out really good content,
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
great content. But these producers happen to be very big producers. So it'll be an interesting thing, because Larry Hama, it's Good Alien, and Larry Hama is part of Good Alien. So we have something very special that's being
Nice.
right now that involves Larry and myself, my son, and Jerry B. Manis, and uh, again, who's an author, a very good author. Want to plug my wife. My
Yes.
wife, she had breast cancer, leukemia, bone marrow transplant, all in 6, 7 years. Almost died several times. Became an artist during that time. Started sculpting and everything.
Uh,
Sells her own original masks she makes, and they're very difficult to create because you have to sculpt the whole thing, then you have to make molds, cement molds, then you have to cast them in latex, then you have to paint them. She started doing that stuff. Holy moly, she is very good. It's
Mm.
freakseyecreations.com, I believe. So, or freakseye.com brings you to her Freakseye Creations. And she has masks and all kinds of other stuff. There's a few things I sculpted on there. And she put out two books recently. And she oh my gosh, I'm trying um Lunar Lamb. Let's see. They are the darn it, she's gonna kill me for not remembering. I had written it down because I didn't want to forget because it's very hard for me to remember names of things. But uh, uh, oh gosh, I don't. I'm saying it wrong, but anyway, one story is about a character called Lunar Lamb, and
Uh-huh.
I'll get you those names to post later on.
Yes.
But um, that's it. I know I'm forgetting other things because I'm working on other stuff as well. I just at the moment am forgetting because there's so many things I'm doing.
This is a good problem to have. You said it's lunar lamb?
Lunar Lamb, yeah, you might find it on Amazon, and it'll
Hmm.
pop up probably pretty quickly. Uh, darn it, she's gonna kill me. Uh, it's just escaping my brain right now. Um, but it's one story is about Lunar Lamb, and the other one is about Loosey Goosey.
Uh-huh.
Loosey Goosey. Um, um, and it's a goose that so well, Lunar Lamb wants to go to space.
Yeah, it's Pasture Pets.
Pasture Pets.
Lunar Lamb goes to space.
Pasture Pets. Lunar Lamb goes to space by Marnie Fleming, Dorian, and Kirsty Dorian, who was my daughter, who was a musician and artist. Uh,
Nice,
but
nice.
Marnie did some great work on it. She took on drawing, writing, lettering, graphics, all never did it before. Worked with my
Cool.
daughter. Man, dude, it's you see how it my house is like New York City. It's like Broadway. They're my daughter's a musician, and she's graduating from the prestigious Berklee School of Music, trained under um what's that school? Juilliard. She
Hmm.
trains Juilliard alum for many years, 20 years or such. And she's a composer. Uh, and she can also just happens to draw. I've never taught her anything, but she does pastel arts. And I mean, just unbelievable work, just unbelievable. And I never taught her anything really. Didn't tell her anything more than, simple questions, you
Uh-huh.
know, but barely anything. But my wife is really coming along with her art. And now she's doing paintings. She might have her Greedo painting up there. She asked me what should she paint. I said, would you paint Greedo? So she painted Greedo from Star Wars and it came out great. And
Nice,
now
nice.
she's working on the Mandalorian, the painting of the Mandalorian. All that stuff will be cool. Oh, one other thing I do want to promote.
Hmm.
I do prints. I don't usually do that many prints. I usually just do commissions. But I decided since so many people like tell me how much they want more ROM from me, more
Hmm.
ROM, can you do ROM commissions, ROM prints? I have no problem with that. So I had done sort of a sort of a portfolio uh, for people to see of my work of ROM. So I did this
Nice.
portfolio. So I'll make them prints available for people, but look out for it because I'll be promoting uh, the option for people to get them so that they don't have to just be at a con to get them. But some really cool, like, so I would say it's some of my best drawing I've ever done of Rom, the character. So hopefully I'll get the chance to in the future.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's there's another really really big project that I've been waiting on that Chris Ryle and I are involved in that will be an enormous thing in the comic world. but I can't talk about it right now. But it will be a huge comic book thing uh,
Nice.
with major publishers.
Nice. You have lots on the way, and I'll be sure to link the websites that you mentioned. I'll also link GuyDorianArt.com. Is that the
Yeah,
main page?
I believe so. GuyDorianArt.com.
Mhm,
There's you want to go to Guy Dorian Senior Art Station. I don't remember the link at the moment, but I have an art station where people can see the different types of work, designs, and all that. I would like to tell people go out and get Hyperbreed. Look for my
mhm,
work
mhm.
uh, uh, through John and Sandy Carpenter. Sandy Carpenter is the owner of the company,
Mhm.
producer. She was a famed producer on my one of my favorite films of all time, Starman, with Jeff Bridges, and she did In the Mouth of Madness and a
Wow,
few
yeah.
other really great. I'm a huge Rowdy Roddy Piper fan, and she worked on They Live, uh, uh, um, and she was a producer on that as well. So you want to go and check out Storm King Comics and find out. Louisa and I worked on several different projects there, and I worked on one with Bill Sienkiewicz over
Mhm,
there. And then you want to check out one you might not know, a character named Cor. It was my sort of love letter to Rom. And my son, that was the book, the graphic novel that my son wrote, and I co-plotted and created some of the things, but he did a lot of the early writing and co-plotting of the series. Then Larry Hama came in and took over, wrote and laid out the story from like issue 3 on. It's a huge novel, almost 200 pages. JB Manis worked on script on that, and it was published through PKMM Entertainment. You can reach Matthew Pallotta for that on Facebook or PKMM Entertainment, and it's a huge novel. In the back of the book, it has some posters by Neil Adams,
mhm.
uh, Herb Trimpe's last poster. It was going to be a cover. I inked it. My collaboration with Joe Sinnott is back there. Sal Buscema inked most of it, and Scott Hanna. Celebrity guest inkers were on there, like Mike Royer, who inked all of Jack Kirby, most of Jack Kirby's DC works.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
uh, Michael Golden, I think I said that, it has a cover, a wraparound back there. And a few other really big name artists have posters in that. Plus, you can see the wraparound covers in between each story that were done by me and Paul Galassi and me and Sal Buscema and other artists. I believe was any other artist. I don't know. But there you go. And that again is look for it's called CORE, Controlled Organic Robotics.
Nice, nice. I'll put the links in the description on the audio, and folks can also see some links at the end of the video as well. I'm excited about the things that are to come, and I greatly appreciate all that you're doing and all the creating that you've shared with the world.
Well, it's very kind of you, Jason. It's really kind of you. And I really love that you do this. Um, there's advocates for creators and creating this stuff and all that. And, you know, I would like to say one thing. It's not really, it's people, I always find it interesting that a lot of people don't realize and take a thought process from, a lot of us trained in anatomy,
Hmm.
storytelling, but we didn't just train in comics.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
we read and we learned. We knew what the Iliad and the Odyssey were. We know who Homer is. We know Macbeth. We know this, but we choose to do this type of art. And
Hmm.
that's why you can see such illustrators like Bernie Wrightson, who could create illustrations that are literally fine art. And
Hmm.
and yet just a comic book, or is it?
Right,
So
right.
I understand that you understand this, and
Yes,
I
yeah.
appreciate that you promote the the movement that is comic books and comic creation and the craftsmanship that goes into it. We owe a lot to guys like you who do that.
Well,
And
thank you. Thank you.
keep doing it, and I will be watching. And you know, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And comics have been a big part of my life. So glad to share about them and glad to share about future works as they come to be as well.
Thank you. Glad, and we'll be watching.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Bye bye.